Howdy! In this mini lecture, we will examine biomes, succession, trophic cascade, and ecosystem engineers. The learning objectives of this video are: 1. Describe biomes and identify terrestrial biomes of the world. 2. Identify the factors which most influence biomes. 3. Interpret a climate diagram. 4. Characterize disturbance, succession, and notions of community change. 5. Distinguish between primary and secondary succession. And 6. Describe the cause and effect of trophic cascade. The Earth is home to a wide variety of ecosystems, which when viewed at a large scale can be classified as biomes. A biome is a major regional complex of similar communities. Another way to classify biomes is to say that they are large-scale ecological units recognized primarily by the dominant plant type and vegetation structure. There are recognized biomes, each of which covers a large geographic area. The biomes you'll read about in this textbook are the temperate deciduous forest, the temperate grassland, the temperate rainforest, the tropical rainforest, the tropical dry forest, the savanna, the desert, the tundra, the boreal forest, which is also known as the northern coniferous forest or the taiga, and finally, the chaparral. Each biome encompasses a variety of communities that share similarities. For example, the boreal forest is found across much of Canada, Alaska, Russia, and Scandinavia. Notice that the boreal forest is one of the most northern biomes, and it is seen in more than one country or continent. Similarly, notice that one biome often spans across latitudes on the globe. See how the tundra is found at the northernmost latitudes. The boreal forest is found just south of the tundra. Temperate grasslands are found in the U.S. as well as in parts of the Middle East, Asia, Russia, South America, and Australia. This pattern exists because the two greatest factors that influence biomes the most are temperature and precipitation. For this reason, biomes are largely a function of climate. Climate is determined by position on the globe, so it makes sense why we see bands of biomes across latitudes. The figure in this slide illustrates the continuum of temperature and precipitation that corresponds with each biome. The bottom corner of the figure represents cold and dry areas, so the landscape of a tundra is illustrated. A tropical rainforest is illustrated in the top corner of the figure because this is where wet and hot meet on the figure. Notice how all of the other biomes are also represented in various places on this figure, each situated according to the amount of moisture it receives and the general temperature of the biome. Scientists use climate diagrams or climatographs to display temperature and precipitation of a biome or other geographic area. You will see examples of these diagrams for each biome you read about in Chapter 4. This slide features a climate diagram for a temperate grassland found in Ukraine. Notice there are three labeled axes. FYI, axis is the plural of axis. The right y-axis displays mean monthly precipitation, measured in millimeters, and corresponds with the blue line. The left y-axis displays mean monthly temperature, measured in degrees Celsius, and corresponds with the red line. The x-axis runs along the bottom of the graph and displays the time of year delineated by month. Moist conditions are present when the blue line is above the red line. Likewise, dry conditions exist when the blue line is below the red line. Keep these details about climatographs in mind as you read about each biome and examine its corresponding climate diagram. Practice interpreting the climate diagrams as you read through the biome section of the textbook. It is a well-known fact that ecological communities are dynamic. Ecosystems and communities can experience disturbances, which are events that affect environmental conditions quickly and drastically. One type of disturbance is the removal of a keystone species, such as sea otters or a tertiary predator. Keystone species are species that have a disproportionate impact on their environment relative to their population size. Keystone species are discussed in greater depth in the sea otter case study video and the sea otter case study activity. Beyond the removal of keystone species, there are many other types of disturbances, such as natural disturbances like floods or fires. Additionally, it should come as no surprise that in many cases, humans are the cause of ecosystem or community disturbances, including the removal of keystone species. Communities respond to change by either resisting change and remaining stable, or being resilient, in which case the ecosystem changes in response to a disturbance, but will ultimately change back to its original state. Unfortunately, some disturbances are so significant that a disturbed community may never return back to its original state. When disturbances are severe enough to eliminate all or most of the species and community, the affected site will very likely go through a set of predictable changes, which is called succession. The two types of succession are primary succession and secondary succession. Primary succession is when the disturbance removes all vegetation and soil. All that is left is bare rock. Primary succession would be seen following the retreat of glaciers, when a lake dries up, and when volcanic lava covers a landscape. After the drastic disturbance, primary succession would begin when organisms began to colonize the ecosystem, but they are starting from scratch to build the ecosystem back up. The first species to appear in primary succession are called pioneer species. Lichens are a great example of a pioneer species. Lichens are actually a symbiotic association between fungi and algae. Lichens are well adapted to colonization and help to prime the area for later higher order vegetation. The picture on the right shows a community going through primary succession. You can see lichens colonizing bare rock in this picture. This is an example of primary succession. Secondary succession follows a disturbance that has removed much but not all of the biotic community. Secondary succession would follow after a tornado, hurricane, or flood. Succession will ultimately lead to a climax community, which is a community that remains in place until some disturbance starts the succession cycle again. Species themselves can also change communities as well. Trophic cascade refers to the suite of effects that occur when predators and high trophic level organisms indirectly boost the population of low trophic level organisms by preying on and managing the populations of intermediate trophic level organisms. There is an excellent video on eCampus that illustrates and explains this concept very well by examining the reintroduction of wolves to the Yellowstone National Park. The video, which is based on peer-reviewed journal articles, explains how the wolves not only changed the population levels of lower-level species, but also how the presence of the wolves changed the course of the river. I highly recommend you watch this short video to get a better understanding of the interconnectedness of species with their environment. There are a few species that also change their environment by physically modifying their habitats. Such species are known as ecosystem engineers and include beavers, prairie dogs, and ants. Now that we've gone over biomes, succession, trophic cascade, and ecosystem engineers, let's review. Students often mix up primary and secondary succession, so here's a question to help you practice this concept. Secondary succession would take place in which of the following? A. The slopes of a newly formed volcanic island. B. Wetlands following a hurricane. C. Newly exposed land beneath a receding glacier. Or D. Secondary succession would not occur in any of these areas. Pause the video if you need more time to think about it. The answer is B. If you're not sure why, go back and read about secondary and primary succession and/or rewatch that portion of this video. To gain some familiarity with biomes, you will complete a biome activity as one of your online activities for the week. Review the instructions for the weekly online activities for more information on this activity. This concludes this mini lecture on biomes, succession, trophic cascade, and ecosystem engineers. Please see the interactive campus lesson and activities list for additional details regarding the assignments required for this week. Thanks and gig 'em.